Healing power of creating art in community. Okay. So we're getting camera right now. She's beaming in. This is very exciting. And there she is.
Hey.
Hello, sister. Hello, hello. Welcome. I'm so excited for this.
I see a little bit of shadow here. This is so cool. I'm so excited. This is the first time I've done this. So with this joint thing, it's amazing what we can do.
It's the first time I've done it too. I gave everyone a little bit of a preview. we are new to this and in a beautiful way. So it's so exciting to be jumping into this experience for this juicy conversation today with you. And I just wanted to start by doing a little introduction and then having you introduce yourself, and then we'll dive in. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, let's do it.
So for those who don't know me yet, I'm Lainie Dalby, and I'm on a mission to free human spirits to sparkle shamelessly and step into their authentic power. I'm a big-hearted embodied leadership mentor, best-selling author, ceremonialist, and a fierce trailblazer in women's spirituality and leadership. I'm also the founder of Sovereign Sisters Rising, an experiential education and training organization that's on a mission to end our culture's rampant disregard for life, especially the overt and covert violence that's perpetrated against the sacred feminine and our own bodies by restoring sacred reconnection around the globe. And to that end, I gather women in both live and virtual sacred circles to facilitate deep healing, sacred play, soul growth, and alchemical transformation, including our Sister Hive virtual learning and practice community. And I'm so thrilled to be here today with my soul sister, Laura Hollick, for this authentic conversation around the healing power of creating art and community. And Laura, I'd love to see if you'd like to introduce yourself.
For sure. So I'm super excited to be here and dive in with you. And I feel like when I introduce myself, it's sort of like within the context of what we're talking about. So this idea of art and the healing medicine of creating in community. And for myself, I actually was much more of a lone wolf type person before and loved diving in and developed a career in art. And then as I got into business, realizing like, oh, I have to connect with people. I got to find a way for my inner ideas, my visions to connect with people. And so I have gone on a huge journey to clear that passageway to enable what's inside of me to reach people out in the world. And now I run Soul Art Studio. I have a Soul Art certification. We have International Soul Art Day, which is coming up. And Lainie, you're going to be here in the studio for that. And, you know, the work that I do, it's all about connecting within so that you have your own wisdom and then bringing it forth in the world.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I so love about you and the synchronicity of our work, that it really is about helping beloveds to access their own inner truth, their own wisdom, their own true North Star, and to be able to follow that. And, I so greatly admire, Soul Art Day and, being in the studio with you 2 years ago, which was our first opportunity to meet in person, the container that you created for us to really access the depth of our soul, and that next highest version of ourselves that was calling was deeply profound. And I'm so thrilled and honored to be joining you there next week again on June 5th. So, it just so ties in so beautifully with this conversation about the healing power that happens when we do gather together, and when we come in to sacred circle, and when we journey into our depths in community, so that we're not alone and we have that witnessing and that holding and that energy. So I'd love if you'd, share a little bit about that for you, how the experience of soul art and creating this container truly has brought healing medicine into your life.
Well, I'd love to share the story of the very first Soul Art Day. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a siren going by. I'm going to let it pass. I'm not sure if you can hear it. The realities of life.
Real time.
Real time. That's kind of how it felt the very first Soul Art Day. So I'll just share that because it kind of ties into how I felt about connecting in community and the journey that I had to go on. So, for most of us who've had a business that's more than 10 years old, we started offline. We started like anyone that I was working with, we were in space together. And I would have workshops. I would connect maybe anywhere from 2 people to a big group would be like 30 people. And we'd have these circles and I would guide soul art journeys. And I could manage that. Like 30 people even seemed like quite a lot for me. I was a very internal, introverted type of person. And when the internet came out, I thought to myself, well, maybe I could do a workshop online. Like it just was like this kind of like light bulb moment. I'm like, if they're all over the world, why don't we do a global workshop and connect a bigger circle? So 8 years ago, the very first International Soul Art Day, I put out this kind of, my version of marketing at the time, which is very minimal. And thousands of people showed up to this Soul Art Day. And my energy system was like going crazy because I almost didn't really know how to handle that much energy. And so a lot of my journey in connecting in community has actually been about learning how to manage my energy so that as I'm feeling the presence of more people, I still have access to my own root system. I still feel supported and and I can be present in that. So a lot of the healing power for me was learning how to work my own energy system, and feel like, knowing what my boundaries are, knowing what's my energy and what I'm tuning into, that's something of the community, and being able to be nourished and amplified by that rather than kind of squashed and sort of like taken out. Like that first year, it was kind of rough, but I learned and I felt the passion. I'm like, I want to go deeper into this. And I know I have to cultivate my own medicine to be able to. And now 8 years later, so much magic has happened. And it really has been a journey of managing energy and then being safe to be open for that connection and what can happen in that relational space with other people.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's actually something that we talk a lot about in our circles, this idea of energetic sovereignty and really how to be able to manage that and stand whole unto ourselves when we're in a situation with a lot of other energy or being and people, and how important that is and what good medicine that is too, and in terms of establishing healthy boundaries and being able to really be and move in the world in our unique expression, but also co-collaborating with the world around us and co-creating with the world around us. So I definitely feel you there. And, one of the things that's come up a lot is this idea of, that being in person isn't the same as being online, and that, the virtual just doesn't, that it doesn't have that same the same power. And the thing that I found in my journey, and I would love to hear your take on this as well, going from just doing live into virtual, is that in fact, there's a whole other level of medicine that comes in when we gather virtually, because we're literally these radiant nodes that are creating this constellation of star beings and sistars across the globe that are really coming together. And in that sense, we're creating this blanket, this almost, each point of where we're gathering creates this acupuncture point of healing that ripples out to the world, and that we're creating a blanket of healing and light when we come together virtually, that in fact there's even greater power perhaps available in that virtual sacred circling. And I'd love to hear you tap into that and talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. I love that. And I also have that kind of visioning that you described of a constellation. I see these sort of light pillars all over the globe. And then when we connect up in the same intention, the same kind of vortex of creation on a topic or whatever it is, then it strengthens the bonds for each person. Everyone gets an amplification because the whole web is supercharged. And so I would have never understood. Yeah, it's amazing. I would have never understood that before until we had access to the internet, and you actually could connect with people live, around the world at the same time. And so because I had the before experience and then the after, again, it was really just about learning how to work the energy. Because there is, when you're with someone in person, you're reading body language, and you can, it's not that you can smell, but there's a sense that you can feel what's going on when the person's right there. Like you can get the subtle things that are going on in their face, you know what's happening for them. And so you're having another level of conversation virtually, where you maybe can't see the people, or you can't actually, like, you don't even know how many people are tuning in or whatever it is. It becomes this energetic attunement to kind of be able to connect in that way. It's another sense. Like we've got sight and smell and like all these different things. The virtual world is another sense. And I feel like over the 10 years that we've had access to this kind of technology, we've been cultivating it. And so people who are just coming in now, it might seem normal. But if you had the before and the after, there is a different sensation where you're like, you feel energy. You feel the wave of presence of people, or the lack of, or whatever it is. Like you can tell energetically what's going on. And I so appreciate that, because it calls me to a different level of awareness, and actually meeting people more at an essence level. Yeah. Rather like who they actually are, rather than kind of like how we just look or how we present ourselves, but like what is their energy resonance, what's their energy imprint. And on that level, then it even expands more, because it connects to their whole soul family and that whole lineage of their energy line. So it just kind of like, whoa, it starts expanding out. But really, to be able to be in that and to be comfortable and not feel like it's like a lightning rod zinging, zinging and zapping you, and you're the grounding rod for it or something. It is learning how to manage our own energy, so that there is a safety we each have to find, so that it's safe to connect at that level, and that we also have to let our own essence come through to meet at that level. So there's a lot of opportunities, like for ourselves, if we're choosing to do that, and people who engage in that. Like everybody has something that they can gain from that kind of connection. And yes, when we're in person, it's a different type of thing. But I think as we become more attuned energetically, imagine the things that we can do. You know, if I think back into the Egyptian time and these different cultures, I think that they had a different level of energy awareness. They could do things. They had a different technology available to them because they understood energy. So I'm thinking, as we're fine-tuning this, you know, what's going to be available to us? Do we even need the tools? Could we just have a conversation with someone in Africa or in New Zealand without even, you know, just on the energy? So there's a lot that can open in all of this. But to keep it simple, energy awareness is what I would say is where it starts.
Yeah, and that almost is this like ancient way of relating, that in some ways we're now remembering. It's a capacity that's coming in. So not just intuition, but really being able to tap into those threads of energetics, and how literally it creates and weaves a web across the globe and across the world. And the World Wide Web is something that has helped us, I think, tap into that, those light threads almost of energy that are pulsing and vibrating, and that energy. And as we raise in our own frequency and our own vibration, we can tap into those currents. And I completely agree, the potential that is there when we actually do that. You know, we become these messengers of light that are connecting all across the globe and really weaving in such a profound way. So thank you for speaking to that. I love that. And I'd love to touch in around the idea of art making with all of this, because, you know, in a sense, being able to come together and meet at our essence, that's part of why we gather, right? It's like why the Sacred Circle is such powerful technology, because it allows us to come and let down the masks and be in our authentic presence, our authentic expression, and to be unapologetically who we are. You know, and to be in our truth and to stand in that, and to allow others to see us in that. And so I know that, you know, with all you do with Soul Art Day, and then also in our sacred circles, that expressive arts comes in as a healing tool and a modality as we gather. And it's actually something that helps to weave the energy together and to help us to access those deeper levels of our soul voice, really, the levels of psyche that speak in symbol and color and texture, and that don't have a language necessarily. So I'd love to hear you talk about the healing power of that when we tap into that that secret and subtle language of the soul, which comes out, as art. And I would just love to point out too, behind me, this is the piece that I made at Solar Day 2 years ago, which is my backdrop.
Oh,
And so,
oh
this is
my goodness.
medicine that came through it was healing medicine that came through in community. So it ties in perfectly too to this theme. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I have so much I can say about that, but I'm also so curious about the piece because, and also, there's gonna be another piece that's coming for you at this Solar Day. I'm curious for you in your experience with creating in community. I mean, I have so much that I can say to it about it, but since you just mentioned your piece, that was created. We were in an intimate circle in my studio, and it was being live broadcast for thousands of people. So it was like intimacy in person as well as bigger circle virtually. What was the experience of creating that?
So I'd say for me, it definitely, there's a huge portal, a vortex that is created of creative energy, of synergy, of, raised frequency and vibration. And you really feel that. And it gives you almost like, it's like taking, like it's like super juice, it like super juices you and your creativity and your connection to spirit. You just have such a direct line of access when gathering in conscious intention with others. And that's something I love about circling. And so, having this direct line of access, which usually my crown is already pretty wide open and stuff is streaming through. But here I found this focused energy that was just really pure. And it was like really becoming the pillar of light between heaven and earth and channeling this transmission. And I had seen pieces of it before I arrived, which has been happening this year too. I've started to see the piece already that wants to come through next week. But, the actual transmission, like I didn't know how it was all going to come together until I was there. And it was almost just like all these puzzle pieces just came in and went, and they fit together. And then the real medicine, though, I feel like, especially with creating expressive arts in this context, is the messages and the medicine that you receive afterwards. And so for me, because I had to fold it up and do all this stuff to get it back home on the plane, I had to unfurl it on my floor when I got home. And I used it as a meditation mat, like a magical carpet. And I sat in the middle of it and I just downloaded information. And so, as I think you might have said, it was like a slice of DNA almost. And, it was this portal of divine illumination. I received so much guidance and still do from this piece. And so I think that the vortex and the access that I had, and in my Sovereign Sisters Rising Circle and Sister Hive, women receive in their creations things that teach them so much and teach them huge clues about their soul's evolution and the next step of their journey. And so I feel like that's really what happens. It's like it can come in the piece, but then afterwards in relating to the piece, it's like a sacred talisman that's charged with the energy of the experience, just like a crystal or anything. And then that's the true medicine for me. It's like when you commune with it, then what comes through.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So beautifully expressed. Yeah. I remember when I was in school, I went to school for fine arts and we had to like do these critiques and kind of like speak about our ideas and present. And I remember even at that point, I said, really all I'm interested in is like the message. Like I do the art to receive, like spirit can then speak to me. And so when I'm creating by myself, sort of there's an intimacy to that, and I can, access a certain level of the insight. And then when I'm connecting and creating in community, my channel, depending on how clear my own channel is, that's the level of the insights or like what's going on in my own like channel, meaning like how is like spirit moving through me to the earth type of thing. What if it's bunged up in any way, like say I've got like a judgment or an issue or this and that, it kind of like will flare up in my awareness to be processed through. And if I keep in the creation, it actually moves through. But sometimes being in the community brings up whatever the issues that we might have in being with people or being in connection in society. So we get to do another level of our channel workout, right? Because we're flowing things through, but not just in our own personal privacy, but in the context of how do we feel in connection to the world? How do we feel in connection with other people? Because those issues come up, and our energy has to move through it to let that creation come through. So it's very healing on that level if we let it be a healing. Some people, it can freeze them up if they don't understand what's actually happening, because their issues might flare up of how they feel in society and with people and community and family and things like that. But if you know that whatever comes up in creative process is coming up to have energy move through it, then you can welcome it in and you get that extra dose of healing potential, because when there's more people around, so it can bring up more issues, more things can come up, there's more energies, and it's also whatever comes through is already woven into the collective consciousness. It's already woven into kind of what your role is in the context of being with other people. So whatever art comes through when you're creating with other people somehow is part of the message of who you are here to be in relationship with other people. So there's these added levels of medicine, insight, and wisdom that comes through when you're connecting with other people and creating with other people.
Beautiful. Yeah, I totally feel that. And sometimes as well, I feel like something can come through that you thought was for you, but in fact it was for someone else in the circle. And so often it'll be like, oh, I cut this image out, but I don't think it's for me. And then someone else was like, I'm looking for that exact thing, and so that piece too of how sometimes we really, as when we're doing deep circle work, sometimes that there can be a dream that's actually for the collective that comes through one individual in a similar kind of way. It's like we each become these channels, and to really see what wants to come forward and to be able to manage our own energy and be in communion with others in the web, and really feel into that and feel the medicine there, but also the growth edge in some ways, and to really be with that. So I really deeply honor that journey and just the beauty of it when we say yes to step into a sacred circle, to create together, to let down our defenses, because the inner critic can come up, what I like to call Jeffrey, the judgment and the ego and the fear and the failure and the resistance and the yielding. And, and I talk about Jeffrey a lot because, that inner critic is real, especially with our society that's like, oh, everything is sort of results oriented, but this is all about the process. And it isn't about the result. So it's not about having some beautiful finished product. And, also knowing that there's no way you can do this wrong, that it's all about how it feels in your body. It's all about the energetic transmission and detaching from society's, standards of beauty and what is like a finished, beautiful work of art. And instead, what is an energetic transmission that is going to share with you a missing piece of your soul's destiny? Like that's really
totally,
that's what's here.
Oh my gosh. It kind of makes me laugh because I remember I think it was 6 soul art days or soul art years ago, so 6 years ago, and I was creating, everyone's creating, and I start cutting up my canvas and rolling it and sewing it tight. And at the end, the people who were in the room, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have no idea. And it wasn't until a couple of years after that I was like, I felt like I was actually like almost like putting seeds away, tucking little messages away that weren't ready to be unraveled yet, but they were like in preparation. So I was like, I did this painting, cut it up, rolled these things. So it's like we have to trust that there's a level of you can't know. But when you allow yourself to enter that space and move through Jeffrey and whatever issues are going to come up and keep trusting the process, there's a magic that starts to take over and guide it. And it doesn't mean that it like you get the answers instantly, but if you stick with it and the trust is there, it's brilliant. It's like that's where I think genius is, because genius is beyond our own contrived mind. Our own contrived mind will never reach genius. It's the open mind that now is in co-creation really with the divine, that suddenly like magic that's beyond what we could comprehend starts like guiding it and taking us to places that we didn't even imagine, we didn't know. And I actually think this is essential for this time in history, and why actually creating in community is so important, because we are seeking the next level of vision.
Yeah.
And it's not going to come from our contrived mind. Like, it's going to come from us moving through the channel, moving through Jeffrey, opening, letting things come through, trusting it, even when it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I get it. And it's almost like we're being taught a new vision by opening to it. So, and our world needs it, like, we're not, the answers of environmental issues and all the things that are going on in the world, the answers and the guidance for that isn't going to come from something we already know. It's going to come from being open to another level of awareness and understanding. So I feel each of us has to do our work to clear our channel, practice creating in community so that we're able to receive divine insight and messages while we're in community. So it's not just, hiding in our closet, we've got these genius ideas, but like actually integrating them into the world. So it's like, it's a very powerful thing that, and people did this in the past. They created in community. We're almost relearning how to do it because we have access to a new tool with the virtual realm. But it's like something that it's natural to do this. It amplifies. We get access to more. It opens us more. It challenges us more. It gives us more potential for healing and clearing, so we're that much more open.
Definitely. And, we're really co-creating this new dream into being together. And Wilma is actually the antidote to Jeffrey. And Wilma is wisdom and intuition and laughter and mastery and authenticity. So really allowing that to come through. And I loved what you shared too, because in our Sister Hive Learning and Practice community, we actually use this Root to Rise and Shine pathway. And the third part of the pathway, the third stage, is purify and nourish the vessel. So really cleaning the channel. And the fourth is to trust and surrender, because we really are opening to this next level of what wants to come through at this time. And then the fifth is to gather and practice, because that is how we come into remembrance of who we are. It is how we are remembering this new dream that is coming forward. It's how it is going to come through as we gather in these sacred circles and create these portals. It allows space for spirit to literally enter and guide us into this next highest version of our society, of humanity, of the earth. Like really birthing this new earth in so many ways as we move into 2020. And so just really feeling that powerful energy and what is possible when we come together, when we create, when we gather, when we practice, when we collectively choose to remember who we are and why we're here at this most powerful time in human history. And that we're needed, and that our unique medicine and gifts and soul sparkle are needed now more than ever. So just honoring that. And I know that Soul Art Day is coming up, so I wanted to see if there's anything you want to share about it. And I'm going to share about some stuff too, and love for people to experience more of your medicine.
Thank you. Yeah, so Soul Art Day is coming up. June 5th is the big day, and it's a free global event.
That might be mine. I think you're unfrozen now, hopefully.
A little bit together in all the phases. All the little bits.
It still feels frozen. For our beloveds listening, is it frozen for you, or can you hear Laura right now? You could just...
Things come up in a creative, and
for our beloveds watching and comment and saying if you can hear Laura right now, or if it is static on the channel for Oh, technology. So I can't really hear you right now, Lauren.
Well, what
I'm
I
not
can
sure if
do,
that's
I can
on
just share
my
some
end or
details.
your end. So, oh, I see you
Yeah,
again.
I can't. It looks like I can find. Yeah, cool. Well, shall we just keep the flow with it, with what we've got?
Yeah, let's keep the flow. They're saying they can hear you, but it's choppy and it's frozen. Can you hear me speaking, beloveds? Let's see. I'm going to try to keep talking a little bit and keep the flow moving. So I can share a little bit about Soul Art Day.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be there with Laura in the studio June 5th next week. And soulartday.com, the link is in the description of the video. And definitely please come and join us. It's a day of creating, a day of gathering, a day of being in sacred circle together with over 10,000 people from around the globe to create this powerful vortex of healing and creativity and just the next dream that wants to come through for you. So it would be awesome to have you join us there. And also for those of you who are interested in gathering every month virtually, the doors to our Sister Hive practice and learning community are opening tomorrow morning, actually. And we gather live for a new moon ceremony and also Koya movement, and we do expressive arts and ritual and depth inquiry and embodied movement practices. And it's really a deep container of love and remembrance that can help you come home more to your body and the earth and the ancient sisterhood lineage and this great web of love and light. For we are sisters traveling together, sparkling shamelessly and sustainably. Because when we practice, it's also possible for us to maintain that sustainable energy that Laura and I were talking about before, really knowing our own energetic boundaries. And right now we're doing a 4-part masterclass called Unleash Your Radiance, which you can also access the link in the description to the video. We would love to have you join us so that you can truly come out of hiding and be in your full power and authentic essence, as we've been talking about. And Laura, it looks like you're back, so I would love it if you have anything else you want to say about Soul Art Day too.
Totally. Well, actually, I think that was such a
Yeah.
beautiful kind of moment to build the trust, right? Because it's like things don't go always the way you think it's all like perfect. But it's like, who knows, maybe we need a moment to just like gather our thoughts or, just take a pause or just be like appreciative of when technology does work and things like that. So I think that the creative process is a space to trust that it goes how it needs to for what wants to come up. And on Soul Art Day, it's a beautiful opportunity to cultivate your creative channel, allow things to come up, and still be held in a space that something can come up and it's not game over. You're still held. Something can still continue to move. And then once you've moved through whatever the things are that come up, you now have that access to your channel's capacity at the next level. So it's a beautiful space to give yourself permission. It's a beautiful space to feel into your own creativity, your next level of vision, feel the community, and build your trust muscles to let your energy come through you and move through. We all have things in our channel, like they're all like, we got, moving through. And it's just like that next level of your opening of what wants to come through. So June 5th is the big day, soulartday.com. You can get the details for that. And I look forward to creating with you, Lainie, here in the studio. I've also started to dream into kind of what I want to work on for the day, like my own intentions and desires, and feeling the energy starting to like bubble up, like it's getting, like it's palpable. It's getting close. the vortex is building
Oh
for
yes,
the day.
feeling it. And for any beloveds who would like more of Laura and I in conversation, she's actually one of our guest masterclass experts in Sister Hive as well. So there's an awesome interview with us there, and also on my podcast, the Sparkle Shamelessly with Lainie Love podcast. So lots more to dive into if you enjoyed this today. And it has been such an honor to be with you, sister. And I can't wait to squeeze you next week and to create. And I just know that it's going to be such a juicy portal as always. And just for everyone watching, you know, regardless of whether you gather with us for Soul Art Day, whether you gather with us in Sister Hive, just gather and practice and come together, because it's time. We need that support. We need to be witnessed. We need to be held. We need those spaces where we can tap into our truth, our wisdom, and not be drowned out by that outside world and the outside noise. The space for us to truly come home to who we are, our authentic essence, and to bring more of that forward into the world, because we need more of you, beloved, in your authentic self. So we love you. It's been such an honor. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you for all the beloveds watching. It's beautiful to see you here. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and just tag us, and we'd be happy to respond. Bye for now.
Bye.